So we'll go to linked list after we complete the redux integration. So this is a store. This is a one-time setup, and you don't have to do again and again this, writing of the store.js. So this is a bootstrap code. Bootstrap means you will find it on the Redux website or different websites. The initial code which is needed for the Redux integration. So just we will put the code, and we don't have to think much on what it does kind of thing. We have to just concentrate on how to use the Redux. This initial installation is something just we'll put the code which is provided by the Redux team. So any Redux application, we need a reducer. So we will create a reducer first, and then we will use it that in the store. Okay, so I'll create a new folder. I will name this folder as the sites. So Redux is something you can create multiple functionalities in different folder. One of the functionality is sites, for example. I can create another folder for example, auth. Auth will be used, for example, user login information, something like that. We can create multiple folders for different functionalities. Right now, I will concentrate only on the sites which I will create it. So in the sites, I will create a new file called as sites reducer.js. So whenever we create the Redux, we need one file for the reducer, and we will also create one file for the actions, sites action.js. So whenever you will call the Redux, it will first call the action, and then that action will go to the reducer, and then reducer, the code will go, or the state variable will go to the component. So to practice or to do the demonstration, we'll create one more file called as sites demo.jsx. So this will be the component where I will be putting a demo code for the Redux, so that when you are working in real scenario, like in our case, we'll be working in the components. So we'll be using the code which we have written here in the sites demo. So site demo is some kind of just a dummy code for our reference. I will move this Redux folder into the source folder. I want everything to be in the source folder. So I will move this Redux in the source folder. I can keep it outside also, but I want all my code inside the source folder. Yeah, I want it in the source folder. Outside it will not work. Okay, so let's keep it in the where we have index. We have to put it in the same place. Any questions till now about this action, demonstration, demo, or reducer? Any question? Okay. So let's try to put some code in the reducer, and then we will go from there. So reducer has first thing which we have to define is the initial state. So for this reducer, what is the initial state variables I want to use it? So it will be initial state equal to, and since this is right now, I will be using this as a as one of the reducer. Let's put some values for sample. For now, I will just put the count of 0. I will be adding more variables here. So for initial testing purpose, I create only one variable inside the initial state, that is the count. So this is my initial state. Now I will create one object which I will fill later in some time, and then I will create one of my size reducer variable. You can name it anything. I just put same name, what is my reducer name, and it is an arrow function. And then I will do just export default size reducer. Okay, so I am sending this reducer to the external uh, file. That is, I am exporting it. Now, this site reducer, whenever redux is called, this site reducer is called, and it has two parameter which is passed in this function. We don't call this function; it is called by redux automatically. So, first parameter which it is getting state, and if state is initially null, we will pass the initial state as the default value for the state. So I'll say state equal to initial state. And second part which it will get is the action. Action one it will get as an object. Since I have to pass some default value, I'll just pass it as empty object. But real object will come from the redux and we have to use it. So here in this reducer, I will check. So this action, action will be passed in the form of an object which has a type kind of thing, and it will also get the payload. So it will get two parameters. One is the type and one is the payload. So based on the type, I will do some different functionalities. So we have to look for the type. So for example, type is coming as set count. Example, set count. So I will check if set count is there, then do something blah blah blah. If set increment count is there, then do blah blah. Whatever type is coming, I have to use it. So whatever type I will be passing here, I have to create. I have to create similar. I have to create a key value pair in this object. So I know that in this file I will get set count sometime in my code. So I will create key value pair of the set count. So I'll create a key here set count, and here will be the arrow function. And this arrow function will accept the state and action as a parameter. So here I will pass state and action. Let's say tomorrow you write the code and you want to add more types. For example, set increment of the count. Okay, so then you will add one more key value pair of set increment count, which is an arrow function, and it will accept two parameters. Let's say tomorrow you want to add one more set decrement count. So you will add one more key value pair with the arrow function of the state and the action. So as many types you want to define in your application, you can define. And for each application, you have to create a key value pair, where the key is the type which we get, and the value is some kind of arrow function, which will accept state and action. What we have to write it here, I will come back to it in few minutes. So let's say if I have a website, Facebook, so I post something on the Facebook. So I will create a key value pair. I will create a type of post data. Okay, some kind of key will be there like this. Let's say you are watching the news feed of the user. So you may create a new type called a news feed. which has the arrow function like this. So like this, we will create based on our website logic. We will be creating new type of key and value pair. Right now, my website has only count, so I created three: count, increment, and decrement. Okay, so this is the one we have to create the object. Now in the site reducer, once we get this parameter, I will check if this type is present in my object or not. So how will I check? I will say if object of the type, that is the set count. Type will come in the action as a type. So I will check type action dot type. So this type will come inside the action. So I will pass this key here, object dot type. If this exists, that means it is existed in this object. Then what I will do? I will call this function. So how will I say? I will say return object. In the object, I have to call this action.type. That means I am calling set count, and then I have to fire that function. I have to, execute that function. To execute the function, I will use open bracket, start and end. And if you see this, each function expects state and action. Therefore, I will pass this state here, and I will pass action here. So tomorrow, if you are sending the type of set count, it will check if object of set count is there. Yes, it is there. So it will run that function, and it would pass these two parameters, state and action, inside this. And if I pass this set increment count, then it will check if object of set increment count is there. Yes, it is there. So it will run that function with the state and the action. If it does not find this object dot type, action dot type, let's say if you pass something which is not there, for example, you pass blah 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 blah, which is not there in this object, so it will not pass in this if condition, and nothing will happen. In the end, if condition is not executed, then also we have to return something. What we have to return? We have to return the state. So this function, reducer function, it looks like this way. And whenever we have some type which is already present in this one, then we will execute this function which I have written it here. Any question till now? So next time, this site reducer is common for all the reducers. If I write 10 reducer, this site reducer part will be same. Only change will be this key value pair will be different for each reducer. So for example, if you are making login page, so you can create a set login as a key. If you are creating some kind of payment gateway, you can say set payment, something like that you can put it. Now what we have to return in this each function? So first thing is you have to remember that each function will retain the state. So what I will do, I will take the previous state which I have, and then I will update that state with whatever I want. So for example, in the counter, I have to take this count, and then I have to update it whatever value user want to update it. So I will take the previous state, and then I will say count equal to action dot payload. So whatever user has passed the data, which it will come in the form of this one, action dot payload. So I will update the count with the action dot payload. So first I have to take the previous state, and then I have to update with the new value which user wants to update. So this way, the whole state will be returned in this function. Let's take the second example, increment. Here, Action.payload will not come. Only the type will come as a set increment. So here I can say count equal to, because it is automatically saying increment by 1. So I will take the previous count. Previous count will be state.count, which is coming here, and I will add 1 to itself. So here action I will not use it because it is increment. I want to just increment the count whichever is present here. Let's take the third condition. Here we have to decrement, so we don't need action.payload. So we'll just decrement the count ourselves by putting minus sign here. Whatever count we have, I will minus 1. Only in this case action is used. In other two cases action is not used. So I can delete also this action part because it is not used. But I will right now I will keep it. Right now I'll keep it for the for the structure purpose. So this completes our the reducer file. Is there any question? Okay, since there's no question, I will create another reducer for my auth. So let's create a new reducer, auth reducer.js. So first I will copy the file which I have in the site reducer, then I will do the changes. So for here in the auth reducer, I have to create a functionality called as login or user info. So here I will create some different state variable. Maybe I can say is logged in. Initially it will be false. I will also pass user info. So who is logged in? I want to see. So I will say user info. Okay, these two variables I want to pass it. And I will create a key value pair. For example, I will say, I will think login user. User wants to log in. Here will be logout user. So here I will put logout user. So these two kind of information I want to save it. This part will remain same. Name will be changed to auth reducer. Okay, so we don't need this one. So I created two kind of functionality for my auth reducer. One is login user, one is a login. So when someone is trying to log in, I want to update the user info. So I will say user info equal to action dot payload dot user info. And another thing I also want is logged in flag. So I say is logged in equal to state, or I can myself know that since user is going to the login user, I will make is logged in equal to true. Then I don't need the user info. I will pass the whole user info in the action dot payload. So let's not pass the user info. So all the user info will come in the action dot payload. And since I have called your login user, I will make the login flag equal to true. And if someone try to log out, I will make user info as a null, and is logged in flag I will make it as a false. I can add more fields like logged in date and blah blah blah, whatever I want. I can add more things also. But right now these two are the important things which I want to update. When someone logged in, I have to update the user info and I have to say is logged in equal to true. When someone log out, I have to say user info null and is logged in equal to false. So I created two reducers, one for the site reducer, one for the auth reducer. So these two reducer will be called in the store.js. Now let's write down the store.js. So we will get store completed today. So to write down the store, I will first import something from Redux toolkit. And what thing I will want to call is configure store. So this is one thing I have to call. Second thing I have to call from Redux toolkit, and then query. There is a query inside the toolkit, and what I have to call here, setup listeners. So this is something I got it from their website. So you can also find it somewhere in the Redux toolkit how to create a store. Next thing is I have to use my custom import. You remember if when installing yesterday Redux, I installed one package called as Redux Logger. So we will be using that here, import logger from Redux Logger. Okay, next I have to import. So I have to import now my reducer. Okay, so let's import the reducer. So let's import first size reducer, and then I will import auth reducer also. Okay, so for I will keep the auth in the before site reducer because A starts first before S. So this one is the custom logger reducer, and these two are my created reducers. I will update the store more as we go ahead. Right down. Now I will just put the limited things which I need for today. So I'll create a variable called a store equal to configure store, and in the configure store I have to pass the object, and here I have to create one reducer as a key value pair which is an object, and second thing I have to pass the middleware which is nothing but an arrow function, and we will update this soon in a minute, couple of minutes. Then after this store I will call setup listeners, and I will pass the store.dispatch. So this may be listening to the dispatch, and that's the reason I'm passing this store dispatch. Next, I will export default store. So now I'm exporting the store. Now this reducer, I have to update with these two reducer, auth reducer and site reducer. So in the reducer, I will say, so here I have to create the key value pair. I can say auth reducer equal to auth reducer, or I can say auth equal to auth reducer. Whatever I want to name key, I can put it, but value should be coming from here, whatever I have imported it. So for auth reducer, I will make this as auth, and for the size reducer, I will make the size and call the size reducer. And in the middleware, I have the function. Here we get the get default middleware. This will come from somewhere in the Redux one, from some Redux toolkit. So this will come from Redux toolkit, and then I have to do something here. I will return this function get default middleware, and I have to append my middleware which I have added like logger. Okay, so I have to add that one logger here. So I will do get default middleware, then I will say concatenate with the logger which I have created here. So this middleware will be also passed in the middleware section. So that's all about the store. We will be updating this store little bit more when we work more on the Redux. But for today or for initial purpose, this is fine. Okay, I will put everything in the document, so you can copy it from there. Let me create a document for this one. This is the installation. Let's update in the installation only. So this is my store.js file, and I will update the store.js file here. Next is I have sites reducer. It will be inside the folder redux, sites, sites reducer .js file. Here I will put the sites reducer. And this will be inside the redux folder store.js. Let's try to add the third auth reducer. It will be present in the redux auth and auth reducer.js file. Okay. So this is all the fields which I added it. Okay, now let's go further. So we have completed the store part, we have completed the reducer part. We will be working on action and this demo file soon. Let's try to call this store in our index.js file. And our next purpose is we have to call this in store file in our index.js. So let me call it here. Okay, let's call it here. So first thing I will import from the redux, React redux, and the package is called provider. Okay, so we imported the provider from React redux, and then we will import the store from the redux store. And I will wrap this app with the provider. And I will wrap this app with the provider. And this provider will have a store of this store. So the key value will be the store is store. So we are able to integrate the store in our the provider. So let me update this file also in this one. Okay, let's update this one. Okay, so I updated the index file also. So now let's see if everything is running properly or we are getting anything. Okay, let me write down and let me see if it is working. Let's go to this file. I will refresh. No errors are coming. That means at least everything is good for now. Let me try to write something in the index and see if something is working or not. So just now here I will say store.dispatch. Let me put some dispatch type equal to, I will say set count, and I will pass a payload of 2. Okay, let's see if this store.dispatch is called. So let me refresh the page. So you will see this logger has created some kind of logging in my console, which I can see it here. And you will see action is set count and payload is 2. Because in the index, this is just I'm testing, I'm dispatching something with a set count and payload 2. So set count is there and payload 2. And if you see the next state, we have the 2 reducers, auth and sites, which I define it here in the store, auth and sites. And you will see auth is saying is logged in false and user info null because I didn't call this one. And in the sites, you will see the count is 2. previously, before my call, the count is 0. Now count is 2. Why count is 2? Because in the index file, I just fired, I dispatched it with a payload of 2, which is updating my redux. And here I know now that my redux is working fine and it's updating the count properly. Instead of set count, I could have called set increment count. Then I don't need the payload. It will automatically make the count equal to 1 because initial count is 0. So if you see here, count is 1. If I call this multiple times, you will see the last place I have the count of 4. So this shows that my redux is working fine. I'm able to see the updated state in my global state. And global state is this redux where I have all the key value pairs and all the variables are here in this my global state. There is also one dev tool. It's called React dev tools. I didn't install here, but we can see all this information there also. I have to search which is that dev tool. I will install it tomorrow and show you that also. So the installation of Redux is successful as we are able to see the changes here. Any question on this one? So we have completed the installation of the Redux today. And tomorrow we will really use it. This is something I just did it here to show you whether it is working or not. But we have to really integrate in our components to see if Redux is working properly or not, and how to convert our website, which we have already built in the Redux, how to save the information in the Redux rather than the local state variable. So that part we will see tomorrow or in the next class. So today I don't have much time, so we will not do that linked list part today. We'll do linked list part tomorrow. So today we will only complete this part here. So let me write down in the README day 21, and here is today 16. What we did, I'll just write down. So I'll just update this file that we worked on this page. Any questions?